Now, what we have here is a battle-damaged NX-01 Enterprise by Asylum. And I picked this up, in amongst other things, in a sort of a real world, if you like, auction, rather than an eBay auction. In an ideal world, I probably would have quite liked the sort of the clean version of it, but you don't see these very often these days. This dates from very early 2000s, about 2003, I believe, this one. And when I say Art Asylum, I immediately say Diamond Select in my head as well, because Diamond Select bought Art Asylum about 4 years or so after this was made. And so they kept on releasing Star Trek ships after they became Diamond Select as well. But this one, as I say, sort of predates that buyout. And I've had one other one, which was a Klingon Bird of Prey, but that was, I think, was in Diamond Select packaging. So this is the first time I've actually had an Art Asylum one to look at in a box. So this is very much an unboxing exercise for me. Now, unfortunately, despite it having a handy hole in the top of the packaging here, there is no sound. I believe that the engines light up and stuff like that, but I don't know if I'm going to have the right batteries to actually power this up, because it could be that it'll require little, like sort of watch batteries. I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't been able to see on the outside of the box which batteries it actually needs. So I'm hoping there's some information on the inside that can tell me that. For those unfamiliar, this is the starship that Jonathan Archer uses in the Enterprise series, which was a prequel to the original Star Trek series, but which was produced much later, therefore had the benefit of CGI ships, but was rather clever in the sense that it did introduce us to sort of very early versions of the sort of technology that we were familiar with even from the original series. So they have transporters, but they're quite wary about using them. They gradually introduce things like photon torpedoes, and we don't really get out and out phasers. We have phase pistols, we have phase cannons, we don't have phasers quite so much. We do, however, have lots of Klingons. We get Vulcans in it a lot, and as a result, we get a lot of different ships for them. Also, we don't really have shields in the modern sense, so this battle-damaged Enterprise was not an uncommon sight, because the Enterprise did get thumped around quite a lot. All it had was what they call polarized hull plating, which was their sort of early version of shields, and it wasn't massively effective at the end of the day. So this is a 12-inch ship, so it's a foot long basically. It's supposed to have action sounds and light up engines, and I like the fact that we've got a nice big sort of display view onto it, so I can imagine on the shelf, you can very clearly see the ship straight away. So I'm sure that would have helped sales. I have no idea how well these sold or how widely they were advertised. It came out at a time when I wouldn't really have been looking for things like this, so I just don't know, unfortunately. But it says on the side here, Enterprise NX-01, 12-inch battle-damaged starship, action sounds, light up engines, and you've got the Art Asylum logo down here. I'm trying to remember when Enterprise was actually current, because it came out after Voyager. So it was the last of that sort of episodic era, as in a sort of 20-odd episodes per season era of Star Trek. I quite like this on the back. They do a really sort of good breakdown of all of the stuff that's in this particular range. So we've got lots and lots of action figures here. We've got a phase pistol there. Various other sort of outer space suit action figures there. Some Borg assimilation figures, which are listed here as coming soon, but I've actually got one of those. We've got a few sort of action shots here of the Enterprise doing stuff. And then a rather nice sort of credits section there as well, which I think is a nice touch. And it says featuring vital ship system audio, light up action warp nacelles, impulse engines, and deflector array. Nice. Authentic NX-01 action sounds direct from the show. Authentic rendition of Captain Archer's Enterprise. This NX-class vessel is built using scans taken directly from the filming model, which is interesting because I didn't think there was a physical filming model, unless they somehow, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what that means. There's also a little badge, I don't know if this is going to like a little sort of badge coiny sort of collector's thing there on the side, not quite sure what that is. Now, this is sealed on one side, this side here, but it's not sealed on the other side. And there are ties floating around inside the box, which suggests to me that someone has had a look at this before, but this is my first time getting it out to have a look at it. So let's see if I can extract it. I'm trying a slightly different setup for this bit of filming, which doesn't actually leave me a huge amount of space for anything else. Let's have a look. So 20 odd years later, this is an unboxing of what is now a rather aged Enterprise, I suppose. I rather like the Enterprise, the series itself. I think it was a difficult, sort of quite a brave thing to do, to try and put in a prequel after shows as popular as the Next Gen and so on had finished. But for me, of course, Scott Bakula, who was Captain Archer, was Quantum Leap. For me, he was Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap. So I was totally sold on him playing a science fiction role. That I had zero problems with that as a concept. Now I'm going to lift this. Yeah, let's lift that out of there. So there should be almost certainly be a stand for this. So inside the box, we've got this nice sort of backdrop here. You can see. The stand's here actually. This is one of the things that I do like about getting examples of this sort of thing in a box, because they're so big that if you don't have a stand to display it, especially with models like this, the Enterprises do not lend themselves to being stood up. I've got battery information there, which is what I was hoping for. This is classic early 2000s full stop. You can see it's got these sort of wires that are holding everything in place. So let me just see if I can untangle these. I'm kind of wondering if someone took it out and then tried to sort of reattach it for the sake of it. But I would quite like to display this, so I am kind of interested in doing this anyway. So it's no skin off my nose to get it out for you guys, because I'd quite like to have a look at it. Yes, it might be enough actually. So we've got a rather natty blue, deep blue coloured stand. I guess that's with a view to putting it against the deep blue nebula sort of background that they've given you. So I guess if you just sort of display it in front of that, that might make it make sense. There's something else there as well. I don't know if it's a security tag or... I'm honestly not sure what that is. That might be something I need to look at later, but there's something there. I don't know if it, as I say, if it's supposed to be a security tag or if it's actually part of the stand in some way. But I'll leave that to later anyway. Let's leave that to one side. And that's definitely a coin. That the little thing that I showed you earlier on is definitely a coin of some description that will pop out. It's got the it's got a little sort of emblem thing on there. I can't actually read that very easily myself. Seal of something. I'm sure it's very important. Right, so let's get her out and have a look. Now, she's had someone's definitely had this out before, because I'm saying that because one of the wires around the nacelles has been moved, I think. And that's a very, very half-hearted attempt to replace the tie around it. So let's have a look. Apologies for the scritching noises. I'm trying to at the base of the stand now, please. As much as I admire the packaging, it's still, good lord. You see how many ties there are on the bottom of this thing? It's crazy. They're really, really keen to not let you get at it if you haven't bought it properly. I mean, it's quite a cunning anti-theft device, because you heard how much noise I made then when I was trying to extract it without having actually sort of freed it up enough. You'd certainly never be able to walk out of a store with it tucked underneath your arm outside the packaging. No chance. I might actually leave that to another point in time. That's just going to form the base of the stand for it. So I imagine that there was going to be a connection point for this, and it might be that is actually part of that other section that I just noticed that was left behind in the box. So it's actually copyright 2002 on the underside. So I don't actually know where, as I say, I don't know exactly where that's going to fit, but it'll sit at that sort of level in some way, shape or form. There must be an attachment point. In fact, that could be the attachment point there. I think that will be where you attach something which the ball joint can then go into. Which is clever. It probably means that you can adjust how it goes, and it's very, very plastic. It's surprisingly light. I mean, I'm saying that because I'm used to eagle moss models, which are often at least partly metal, but this is all plastic. Doesn't really come as a huge surprise, but the bird of prey that I have from Diamond Select is much heavier than this, but then it is also bigger. So, perhaps I shouldn't be that surprised by that as a concept, really. I would imagine that batteries are going to go in this compartment here. Now, having a screw there is not ideal, but I've got to bear in mind that this, first and foremost, is really designed to be a toy. It's not really, although it has a display stand, ultimately I think it's probably more rigged towards being a toy because it's got electronics in it. So that's kind of is what its mission in life is. Now, I'm just going to take a brief pause so I can just see if I do have the right batteries to actually sort of set this up and show you and let you listen to the sounds it makes. So let me just find that out. Okay, I need quite a small screwdriver for this. So I've discovered on reading the manual there that this segment that I'm taking out now, I believe, is for two purposes. So it allows you access to the battery compartment, but it also means that you can swap out the shuttle bay housing for the piece that allows you to put the display stand in place. So as I thought, that piece that's remaining in the box is actually another version of this, basically, so you can swap them out. So if you want to display it, you can put the alternate piece in, whereas if you want to play with it, you can do this and just retain that as the shuttle bay housing. So there's a try me in a normal mode, so if you just want it in normal mode. Now hopefully we have life. I'm not entirely sure what sound effect that was supposed to be, but let's seal it back up just for the sake of it now so I don't lose any pieces. It says. So it's just 3 AAAs, which fortunately I had just enough of in the house. So there won't be many places open today. Right, there she is. So hopefully, in fact, if I switch my lights off, this might be more apparent for you. Yeah, there's definitely a warp light up there. Navigational deflector is working as well. Navigational deflector looks like it might have taken a hit at some point. That's very, very flimsy. I'm not entirely sure about the sound effects personally, but I don't know what you guys think. It's certainly trying to light up. I mean, it's definitely... There were definitely sound effects kicking off there. There's no two ways about it. I thought there were going to be more speaking sound effects. I must admit, I thought there was going to be a bit more variety. They were all a little bit random. It's good though. I mean, it's making quite a lot of noise. Yeah, that's okay. So there you are. So that is it's a working NX-01. I can't say fairer than that. Considering it was it wasn't guaranteed to be working until when I bought it. They just sort of said it is what it is. It's a toy in a box. So you take it as you find it, sort of thing. But yeah, okay, that's cool. So I say, well, try again. Yeah, it's fairly bright. It's fairly bright. You can definitely see the bulbs are lighting up inside the nacelles. But I mean, for as part of a job lot, that was a nice thing to pick up, because they do go for a reasonable amount on eBay, I believe. Probably simply because they're so old, so I guess they're relatively hard to come by. But it's a good model. It's definitely a good model of the NX-01. So I can see that they've got a lot of detail in there. And you might think that the deck plating is a bit overdone, but actually, in fairness to them, I don't think it is, because they did put that much differentiation into it. It's not as bright as the later Enterprises were, because this is quite a functional ship, given how relatively young it was in terms of the Starship design, and of course, it has a lot of echoes for things like the Akira class that came much later. So you turn this upside down, and you've effectively got an Akira class. In fact, I've got an Eagle Moth model of an Akira class over here, which I can just grab. I think when I first saw the NX-01, I really did wonder if they just out and out sort of pinched the concept. As you can see, it's very, very, very similar. It really is when you actually look at them up close together. So it's quite funny that. But the Akira class, it would be substantially larger, of course, and it's a whole different ship. But it does nevertheless have that much in common if you flip the NX-01. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that as a pickup. I mean, it is far more plastic than I would prefer, sure. But it was something from the 2000s, so that's somewhat inevitable, really. That's bound to be the case. But no, it's I say it's I'm not sure it's my favourite Star Trek series ever. I wouldn't go that far, but I think given the challenges that they had, they did the best they could with it, and it's rather a shame that it didn't get the normal 7-year run that the other Star Trek series had. I think, unfortunately, it was just coming to the end of that era where shows could be supported with that sort of budget to run for that sort of period. I don't know. I'm not quite sure why they opted to shut it down. Maybe it just didn't quite take off, but it was a shame, because it was really, as is often the way, it was really finding its feet at the time when it did get shut down. So, unfortunately, it was what it was. So, on that note, I shall leave you there. Do like and subscribe as ever. And hopefully I'll probably bring you some more Eagle Moss Star Trek stuff in due course. Cheers for now.